Let's see. Monday morning, people awake and alive. Is anybody out there? Guess we'll see. Probably pushing my luck. Oh, g'day, Snarker. So you're the first one on board today? Seems like it's very quiet. Everybody's partying on the weekend, perhaps. Either that or Lewis or Jess or Chris has a stream running at the moment. Oh well. Better get straight into this anyway. We've got an iPhone 5 here that previously it had a battery replacement done by the local shop, the other one, which is now closed. And since then, the person's reported that there's intermittent touch down the left-hand side here. And my guess is it's probably at this point not really the fault of the other store, but rather just a coincidental situation, because I notice there's cracks here. So I'm guessing that what's happened is when they did the battery replacement and they pulled up the screen, it caused these cracks to develop a little bit further and maybe cause the issue with the touch sensing there. So it's for all the drama I got with that other store. Well, actually, I shouldn't really say they caused me drama directly. It was all indirectly because they gobbled up my customer base a fair bit. Yeah, they're pretty good otherwise. I'd say this is definitely not explicitly their fault per se. I'd say they've had to work on a broken screen, and everybody knows that there's always a risk that when you move around broken screens, the cracks can develop more, resulting in further issues. Alright, move that out of the way. This was done on the 20th of the 6th, and this is a prior. This is one of my screens by the looks of it, and they went along and got a battery by the other place. Oh man! But now I'm going to beat the daylights out of the person who put the battery in. Look at this. Huh? You can't put a battery in like that. That's ridiculous. Okay, they just lost my goodwill there. That's a joke. You don't do that. You've got to make sure those batteries are bonded down properly. Hey Daniel and Lynn. That one's stuck to the... Let's see, when was this manufactured? Well, it's January 2017, so that's good to know. Seriously? What are these people doing? Oh well. I've definitely found if you don't bond those batteries down, they start rattling around, they will cause strange behavior in the phone. No one's been able to give me an answer why, but yeah, if they bounce around, they have a tendency to cause the phone to just hang or crash or lock up, all that sort of stuff. I wonder if it's that. Yeah, that's one of my screens. I know it's one of my screens because I've got this code here, which is how, but they're not my fingerprints. So I think what might have been the case here is I repaired it at one point after they'd already had it repaired previously, and I just, yeah, it's a bit hard to try and get the fingerprints off this sort of matte surface backplate that is in. Oh my goodness. This person, look at this. See, they've tried to lever it out, the old battery, and they've broken this little flex here. Bloody hell. They really were cowboys. I mean, I can understand this thing breaking off, but if you do get this situation where it breaks off, you just got to take it all out. Take it all out and put it a whole new batch of. So they've got the same tape that I've used here. So it looks like 5mm, maybe that's 6mm. It's the same sort of stuff. But you got to flush it all out and do it again from scratch. Otherwise, the different thicknesses of the tapes will result in the battery not sticking properly because it can't get a purchase on everything. Yeah. Every time I come across one of these sort of botch jobs, I'm a little happier about the fact that they closed down. But of course it makes me angry a little bit about the people who obviously were previously my customers going to another place because it was cheaper, and well, I guess they did get cheaper. Hey Lisa, have people been able to get their phone back, or are some still captive? I'm guessing that some are still captive because I drove past there last night and everything is still in there, which is kind of weird. I would have thought if their lease had run out, they would have cleared out by now. But anyway, everything is still in there. So I'm going to assume that there's still captive phones in there. Ow. I even noticed the banking terminal is still in there, which is a little unusual. All I can think is perhaps while they're doing the close-up process, they're keeping the store shut, but they're obviously taking call-ins. Like a customer calls up and says, "Hey, I want my phone," and they go, "Yeah, sure thing, come on round and we'll open up the door and you can come in and grab your phone and then pay whatever outstanding dues are there." Okay, so I'm going to need a new flex for that and a new screen. Actually, I better message the customer and let them know that what's going on. This is definitely not the best time of the day for me to be streaming because it seems like everybody is absent. That's okay. Right, time to message these people. What number did I have for them? The problem with this phone, Lisa, is that the left-hand side of the screen is intermittent. And they say it's because it's happened since they did the repair of the battery. Okay, I just got a number here. I got to message him, give him a quote on this. It's been a bit of a rough running Monday already. And I thought the fact that I cleaned out my office last night would mean that I'd have an easy run today. Can't spell. Yeah, I just quoted them, and now I have to wait for them to give the affirmation or not. And let's see. In this particular case, I don't want to be presumptuous. If there is one thing that having the other store in town was very good for, that was filtering out certain types of jobs. The sort of jobs where you just get that feeling in your bones that it's going to be a bit of a nightmare. So the fact that they effectively collected a lot of those ones was a upside for me. Unfortunately, it was still too much of a loss on the other side. YouTube issues. I've actually got no drop frames for a change in my life, and I'm running steady 30 frames per second. So, sorry. I'm just answering a. Oops. So the only downside of doing this stuff during the day, the streaming, is that I've got to catch up my phone, people's messages at the same time. All right. I can't believe this. Wonder who their supplier is. All I've got is a little mark down here. It's probably not going to show up. Just you see flashes over there. I haven't seen that one before, so I'm not sure who it is that supplies them. Fortunately, the battery seems to be okay. But as I said, I've now got to wait for them to confirm that they want to go ahead for the job because it's slightly higher price. Normally, things like that little flex replacement and putting the battery in, all that sort of stuff, I wouldn't charge for. But since this person has demonstrated their capacity to not be loyal or anything like that, I'm going to demonstrate my capacity to add on small prices for those sort of extra bits. You're right, it's probably going to bite me in the ass. iPhone 5, yes. Jiffer White, it's an iPhone 5. So while we're waiting for that, I have another job anyway. Next job. And this one here is a good example of why I spend the extra money on refurbished or high-end screens. So I've just got to get a magnetic pad for this. Alright. Pardon me. Now this item came in last week. It's just a normal iPhone 6 screen replacement. And I was low on stock, a fresh stock that is, of my iPhone 6s. And I had one in there and it wasn't marked in any particular way. It seemed like it might have been an alright one. So I put it in, but it turns out that it's actually, oops. I think it might have been one of the cheaper ones or something. I'm not sure how it got in there, but it did. I'm fairly sure of that. And as a consequence, it seemed like it worked alright. There weren't any notable problems when I was testing it after I'd installed it for the customer. But then a few days later they reported, they asked, they said, oh, is it normal for a new screen to have areas on it that are more difficult to touch? I thought, yep, typical. So in this case, it's a case of the digitizer or touch, whatever, being a little bit inconsistent, and the customer has noticed it. So that'll explain why it was an unknown item in my box. And so now I've got to replace it, but best of all, I've got to replace the flipping tempered glass as well that I'll put on. It's a double loss for me. That's what happens when you get the cheaper screens. Because I don't even know why I did that. What is this? I can't work out that date codes or... Yeah, anyway. We'll replace it. They'll be under warranty from the supplier anyway. So you came back, customer, no freebies. Yeah, that's pretty much it, Lynn. No freebies anymore for this particular that other person because they've demonstrated that they don't value such things. Normally, like I said, normally I do a lot of that stuff at no extra charge. Things like maybe you got a dud camera, sure thing, I'll swap that out. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, when they demonstrate that they're not really into reciprocating, then no freebies for you. Come on. And I've been having an absolute nightmare with my battery charger tester device. I've decided now that I am going to change the LiPo cell charger item from the uh, from the microchip one to. Yep, okay. I'm gonna change it up. It's a 5,600 milliamp hour. God damn! I always say milliamp hour when I mean milliamp. Yeah, it's a 5,600 rated one. I'm gonna push it up to being a different chip, which will take 1 amp. The other thing is I'm also aiming for one that will be able to charge at 1 amp, but it can do it from anything up to about an 18-volt input supply. So that way I don't have to pre-regulate the power before handing it over to the chip, the charger chip. I can just sort of give it the 16 volts, or in this case usually 12 volts, and it will manage things itself. Okay, that looks like that's bonded on at factory, so I'll leave that. Can I get, just answering more customer stuff. In the near future, when I redo the front of the house at the patio, I am planning on setting things up so that my wife can manage a lot of these requests. Okay. Put that back in the packaging. I'm going to mark it that it's intermittent touch. What's the date today? Well, that's no good. Monday the what? I think it's the 17th or something. How can I not know what day it is today? Oh, where's my calendar? Ah. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Won't be a second. Oh, that was funny. It was my wife actually telling me that it was Monday the 17th. But unfortunately, while I've got these headphones on and everything like that, I really can't hear a thing properly. Oh, here we go. Alright, we've got the confirmation on the other one, so that's good. Let's get this one assembled so that they can go back to having a happy life. Ow! There. And later this week, I should finally be ordering that microscope. All things going to plan. I've still got to decide whether I'm going to buy it directly through Amscope themselves on their website or through what appears to be their eBay presence. The upside of the eBay option is that it's probably about $100 cheaper on the shipping. But the question is there a reason it's $100 cheaper versus what they're offering on their website? Unfortunately, there was someone who has just recently also purchased the same, or essentially the same microscope from the eBay place. They're also in Australia, they're on the other side of Australia. And they seem to have had success. But I gotta admit, I'm still a little bit cautious. On the upside, eBay has a pretty good customer sort of negotiation support side if things go wrong. Oh, where is this thing? There it is. So it's just umming and erring about what I should do, which option I should take. In terms of the product itself, the product is exactly the same cost for the same product. Just going to add these little strips of adhesive, stop that home button spinning around. People really don't like it when their Touch ID fails because of the flex tearing after fatigue. I mean, it's different if they smash their home button. They already are aware of the failure. When it's because you didn't check to see that the button didn't rotate, then yeah, you're going to be in trouble. Not that people are really, as a general rule, using Touch ID. I think it's one of those features that Apple added, but doesn't overly resonate with their users. In fact, I don't think Touch ID or biometric entries really have worked yet with anyone. Like I remember a lot of the older laptops used to always have their fingerprint scanners and things like that. I'd say I've probably only seen one computer out of several hundred where the customer actually has it set up and uses it. It's a case of, yeah, it's a fancy feature, but no one's using it. I mean, that happens in everything. Like I said, with Open Board View, there's plenty of features I put in there which I myself don't even use. So I thought, yeah, this is going to be great. This is going to be the best feature in the whole wide world. And it just sits and rots. And then there are other features you said, okay, I'll just add this as an afterthought. And it turns out to be extremely useful. So what that probably means is I have no clue myself as to what's good and what's not. So maybe I shouldn't be designing things and making those decisions. Sorry guys, I've just realised I've not been looking at chat. Alright, let's have a look. Jeffo White. Do cheaper screens have more touchscreen problems? I bought a couple of 5C and it doesn't seem to come out and it doesn't seem to come out of that touch probs. Yeah, I have found that the cheaper screens, more often than not, do tend to have odd touch issues. It's not always immediately apparent. Typically, it takes a week or two, and it's not always a significant issue. It's just sort of like it's a little weaker here or something like that. Um, I bought a cheap iPhone 6s Plus replacement screen for my for that $50 one that I got the other week, and I definitely noticed it has touch issues. When I say issues, it doesn't respond appropriately all the time in certain areas. Like if I'm playing Best Fiends and I'm trying to do a really long chain or something like that, I have to press quite hard to make sure that it doesn't prematurely decide that I've taken my finger off and it ruins my game. I don't play it that often, but yeah, it's a good testing thing. That's what I'll say it is. It's for testing. So it's certainly there. I found it's the consistency or the predictability of the touch is less. You're either going to get them that they're super sensitive or they're not so sensitive. They tend to miss the sweet spot a lot more. 18 volts, even lets you use the Mac charger input and decide I'll power through here. Actually, I think 18 volts is the absolute max that the particular chip I'm looking at will take. But 12 volts is really what I'm designing for. And it will need a substantial amount of thermal consideration. I'll have to make sure there's a solid ground plane there, or plenty of things to wick away the heat. I might even contemplate putting a little heatsink on top of the chip, even though it is tiny already, because it would be operating in linear regulator mode. Okay, well the screen's pretty normal, more consistent, so alright. You're competing with the season premiere Game of Thrones. Oh, right. Thank you, Stray. That'll explain it. Oh, right. So we're all getting on board, waiting for your camera. What sort of camera are you getting, Lisa? Oh, Game Music Grotto. Okay, you went through eBay as well, no issues. That's good. Let's see if this can't. Oops. Well, the touch seems normal enough. Okay. The only thing I've got left to do there, I'm going to have to put another flipping. God damn it. I have to put a tempered glass on there. Okay, and Lisa got hers through Amazon. I have seen them on Amazon, but Amazon isn't much use to me. In fact, on Amazon, things are more expensive for me in Australia. Hey, Krajay. I'd say, based on what Stray77 said, is maybe that the whole network is suffering because of the premiere of Game of Thrones. And I just realised this corner's slightly popped out. Is there a bend in there? I've got so there's an impact here, and it's forcing the screen to push up a bit. That sucks. That really sucks. That's driving my OCD. Which means I've got to pull this apart again. Fortunately, because it's an impact down the bottom corner, I can simply lift the screen up while it's still attached and put the G tool in there. I may not be able to flatten it out, but I'm certainly going to give it a shot. Okay, it's definitely YouTube in general, not just my stream, because from here, this stream is running perfect, absolutely no drop frames at all. Alright. Okay, so we'll try to clear that out. If it won't come clear on its own, then we'll get the Dremel out, but hopefully we won't need the Dremel. Where is my... Ah, damn it. Left my Vaseline at the other end of the room. Purchase the Aimscope HD200 VP UM HDMI. Ah, okay. That's more substantial than what I'm getting. I'm just getting the comparatively cheap 5 megapixel USB 3 one. I didn't have the budget to push up to the HDMI. That said, I also don't have the equipment to import to use the HDMI anyway. What's going on here? See if that sits down any better. Still not great, but it's definitely better. It's not sitting on top of a folded-in lip or anything anymore, but it's still not perfect. There are certain limits to what you can do with these chassis. Yeah, still driving my OCD a bit, but anyway. Alright, we can get to the other one now. We've done that one. Let's put that up so that it can... What is catching up on here? It's... Okay. Do you stay with one supplier on your screens, or do you shop around? For a long time I did a lot of shopping around. I would take screens from multiple different suppliers, see how they were. Also, I was looking for how quickly the supplier packed and shipped items. Just overall, I'd rather pay a little bit extra and have a supplier that I can depend on for communications and... Oh, good, that came off finally. Yeah, I want to be able to deal with the supplier at a professional business level if anything needs to be dealt with. And at this point, I have got my main supplier, whom I've been using for maybe 3 years now, and they've been pretty good, so I can't complain. They're very good with the returns. Hey, wow, this one's actually got a got the spacer in it, which I know I definitely must have been the one that fixed this up. That ever so important earpiece spacer. Of course, it's good to, you need to have a secondary fallback supplier in case things go wrong, or maybe they don't have the stock that you want, all sorts of things like that. And I do have one of them, though they just pretty much lost their second supplier status this weekend, because I requested some parts from them. They didn't ship them promptly. They sat on them for a week before they shipped them. Now, I don't know whether that was just a genuine mistake or not. The point is, it cost me a job, and I'm not happy about that. And then when I tried to communicate with them, all I got was a boilerplate response. And then they're just sort of dodging the issue. Good business, basically, in this case, would say, all right, look, sorry, we screwed up. Just send the item back. Here's your full warranty, no cost to you. Hopefully... Oh, looks like I gotta go. Customer, I'll be back. Sorry about that. Chuck no Lewis, handy nuts. Dun, dun, dun. Um, Adhesive in the corner. No, I generally don't like to bond the screens down onto the chassis, and all that usually happens if you do that is it causes additional stress elsewhere, and subsequently, yeah, it just causes other problems. The only thing you can really do is flatten out the chassis, and as best you can, and that's about it. I have tried in the past with the adhesive thing, and it never works out, at least not for long. That was particularly notable on the iPod Touches as well. I mean, they had to be bonded down in the first place, but demonstrated that bonding them down doesn't really do much anyway. Whoops, I was a bit rough with that. Let's see. Right, this is the no favors for you phone. I'm just gonna try to clean up that grime a little bit around the home button. You need someone on the front end. This is stressful. Yeah, RicTech. It is true. I do need to have someone up the front managing this sort of stuff, particularly if you're in the middle of a job that's requiring a bit of delicate work. Okay, that's good. Oh, and naturally the black stuff's coming off the back of the button. Right. But these things do take time and money. I would very much like to just drop 2,000-3,000 and have the front enclosed, turned into a proper reception desk. Maybe later. Maybe once the microscope's here and I start doing more mail and jobs and things like that. Hey, Motorman 212, 212. Works out of home, did the same thing, well, in a much bigger town, people don't just walk up. Most of the time, I keep people on a schedule. Unfortunately, things are a little bit casual around this town, and as such, you can get a number of unplanned arrivals. At least they're just people. I don't like other types of unplanned arrivals. Let's see, is that aligned? Well, it's the wrong color, but yeah, it's aligned. You don't realize how different the whites can be until you put in a mismatching home button and screen color white. It's like, but they're both white. It's like, yeah, not even close. So far, people have never complained about it. Oops. Okay, make sure there's no grit on the back of there. It's very easy to get a grain of sand or something on there. You put the panel on, and when you fire it up, you get yourself a nice glowing white hot spot on the front. Ah, great. Come on. That one was a bit reluctant. These gloves are starting to sweat up quite ugly. It's supposed to be blimmin' winter around here. It's not even close. So what sort of ads have we got? You talking about ads on this stream or ads on TV? Or are you guys getting inundated with Heidi Kloss or whatever her name is? As for concentration, Rictech, yep. Losing concentration's a big one. There's been a number of times where I've been doing, say, particularly with something like an iPhone 4 or 4S, and I will have just started reassembling the screen, and then I'll do something dumb, like maybe in the past leave the camera guide out, which isn't quite so bad, uh, or forget to do up the side screws, the washer plus screw that they've got in them. Then you don't realize that until you've pretty much assembled the whole thing, and then you see that they're not screwed up, which means you've got to take the whole circuit board out again, and yeah. So yeah, distractions are a big problem like that. I sure hope I've got a replacement one of those audio jack noise reduction flexes. Actually, I don't really know if they are noise reduction flexes, I'm just assuming they are. Since they don't seem to have any overly active connection to anything else. Maybe someone can tell me what they are really, rather than leaving me to assume. Television ads, right, okay. Discovery has fallen prey to producing fodder for the masses. Oh boy, yep, I've seen those ones too. Have you played with component pair repair yet? Blah blah blah, I can't speak properly. Or is this what's going to happen with the microscope? Definitely the microscope's going to be at the component repair level. I'm only doing this sort of stuff right now because, well, I don't have the microscope. So, but as soon as the microscope comes along, yes, I've got a I've got a container with a lot of iPhone boards in it that need repairing. So it will be switching over to that format once I get the microscope. It's just been a long waiting game, well over a year now. Alright, I've got to go find a replacement one of these flexes, which means I'm probably going to steal it from another iPhone 5 chassis. Discovery, and I've noticed National Geographic is heading down there pretty quick too. This one here looks the least assaulted. Most of the others do have some level of, like you can see this one here, you can see how it's already been plucked away from the jack, which means it could have an internal fracture. As I said, I don't even know how critical this is, but it is part of the iPhone, and henceforth I will try to preserve it as best I can. Come on. Okay. Hi ITM2 from Melbourne. There you go, I said it for you. What do you need a shout out for? I'm always shouting out to you. You got visitors? Well, I hope things are alright down there in Melbourne. Hope you guys stealing all the cold from me up here? Because I sure haven't got any cold up here. Alright, now I've got to get this thing back in. Which of course is much easier when... do not make me take that whole thing out. One tool I need to get, and I haven't seen anyone else really using them, is some sort of awl. Basically, just a probe, a high tensile or whatever probe, a metal probe, sort of half a tweezer. Because there are so many times when I just want to prod something, and I find tweezers for some reason to be rather ungainly. I think because you're holding them in a spring fork fashion, so your muscle activity doesn't quite work with it. Okay, that's in. It's something that's lightweight, strong, springy. So basically, it would be spring steel, spring stainless steel, or something like that. Okay, that looks good. That's aligned. Let's get it all back together. Oh, battery. Almost forgot the battery. The thing that caused all the problems in the first place. IT up here, it's warmer than it ever has been for a winter. 8 years ago or so, on this sort of day, pardon me, I would be wearing a double jacket, like a wind cheater, just really rugged up, and I'd be chattering, and I'm wondering if I was ever going to see or feel the warmth again. But this last 5 years or so, it's just been failure after failure. And that wouldn't be so bad, except for the fact that our summers are brutal. So really, it's just getting hotter for longer and colder for less. Yeah, but we should be seeing single-digit nighttime temperatures, and we're not even close. I think we might have got to 14 last night, which is pretty abysmal. On average, I think our monthly statistics are indicating that we're about 5 to 6 degrees above average already this year. And that's pretty nasty. Like when I take a drive in the car, it's not unusual for me to put on the air conditioner still. That's ridiculous. Come on, okay. Swivel in, get some bite on you. Okay. That battery's not going anywhere. Not like before. What a joke. You could try some dental picks to probe about. I have got some dental picks, and maybe they're just cheap, nasty ones, but I don't know. I'll have another look at it. I'll see if I can find some straight ones. I think the main problem with dental picks is that they're almost never straight. They're always got some sort of interesting curve on them. What the hell is going on there? I've got a strange black mass down here. Okay, it looks like it's just some sort of rubbery stuff. Okay, I was worried it was corrosion of some sort. It wouldn't have anything to do with the touch because this is not the touch connector. That's just the camera and proximity sensor type stuff. I do often think it must be strange for people who are right-handed to see me do these things left-handed, because all the methods I use in terms of holding the case like I am now and whatnot would all be probably quite different to what the right-handeds use. At least I think so. I haven't checked. Alright, you are slightly out of alignment. Sometimes my driver just doesn't go into the screw right. Come on. So locked in, locked in. Nate Parker. Paul, what are the most common issues caused by a bad battery? Well, obviously, I suppose the phone, everything dropping out as soon as you demand some sort of load from it. Like if you're trying to make a call or you're trying to play a game, play a video or something like that. That is a classic sort of weak battery issue. Because what's happening is the internal resistance of the battery has gotten too high. So as soon as you pull a strong load on it, the voltage drops excessively by the time it gets to the actual phone. Um, then there's also the issues with the third-party batteries. The gas gauge is misbehaving. Like I'm sure you've seen with Jester Streams, if you damage that gas gauge and it starts pumping dud information into the phone, you can get the error 26, 27, or is it 25, 26? I can't remember. That is a notable problem. God damn it. This is a very slight, it's not too bad. This is a very slightly pink screen. It's not showing up on the camera, unfortunately. But I can see it here. It's got the tiniest pink hue to it. I'm going to have to change away from refurbs for the 5 series phones, because at this point now the refurbs are getting that old that you can't trust them, even in the good quality ones. So I'm going to have to start trying some high-end aftermarket units. Let's see if this works. Touch works. Let's see if it picks up. Put a big mirror in front of you. Point the camera. Alright, this has picked up the local network, so that's good. Just pop it, sure. I think also when it comes to iPhones, a lot of the so-called battery problems are ending up actually being TriStar issues, and that's another big reason why I'm desperate for this microscope to arrive, because I've got a pile of phones that have ended up being TriStar issues, and I can't fix them at the moment because I just can't see. So being able to resolve the TriStar problem is going to be very nice to have. I'm not sure what the split would be, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's 50-50, so half TriStar, half battery faults. Certainly the cheap aftermarket batteries are a real problem. They're dodgy gas gauges even when they're not damaged by water or anything like that. And then of course the cells themselves, you don't know how old those cells are, you don't know where they've been manufactured or anything. There can be a substantial difference in the quality of a lithium cell depending on where they've picked it up from. Optical illusion, but the phone looks slightly twisted. Let's see. Let's do the flatness test. It's got a very slight bulge in the middle. Very slight. That's that's about 1/4 of a millimeter at the best. But there's definitely something there. Yeah. But it's about 1/4 of... Oh, no, actually, you know what it is? It could be this. This could be the 1/4 of a millimeter I could feel. Let's see. That was the 1/4 of a millimeter I could feel. my customer code sticker. Oh well, at least I got that right. Tangling is a big issue, and you want to set up fast. Yep, I imagine it would be. Can't even keep any of my cables. Oh, speaking of cables, everyone remember my really dodgy iPhone genuine cable? Well, I fixed it up. There we go. So, where is it? There it is. Yeah, it's got a bulge in there. Yeah, that's heat shrink and hot glue. I was looking for my clear heat shrink. I couldn't find it, and then once I'd finished this, I found it. So classic. So gotta love the universe. Okay, so that one's done. Customer. What was the other one? Oh, I've got to put the tempered glass on the other one. So I better go get myself a tempered glass plate, and I'll be back. Okay, let's see. I need another pair of gloves. I hate with a passion putting glass protectors on these phones. I probably spend more time telling customers that I can't do it, won't do it, don't have stock than many other items I don't like to do. Personally, I don't see a huge point of having tempered glass on something like the iPhone 6, mostly because it doesn't go all the way to the edge, and most of the time the cracking occurs at the edge. So you end up with just this chipped away, gnarly looking piece of glass on the top that doesn't really even protect. It makes sense on the 5s and the 4s as far as I was concerned, but definitely not the 6. Where would you look for a high-end screen? Yeah, if I knew the answer to that one, I would tell you, but I really don't have a good answer for that one. And normally I like to peel these off and quickly put on the tempered glass, but I've found that a lot of them have some sort of, there's a bit of an adhesive binding left behind, and it causes issues. So I've got to wash it down with alcohol first. Ah, for God's sake, there's always flippin' dust. And, yep. As usual, one speck of frickin' dust in there. God damn it. For some reason it's not binding down on the edge here. going on there? I've taken it too far, that's why. Crud. Now I need a fingernail. There we go. First time I did this, it was perfect. Naturally. I don't know what's going on the edge here. It's like... No, I really don't know what's going on there. I thought maybe it was because it was too far across before, but it's imperfection in the glass. Bloody hell. Welcome to Why I Don't Like Tempered Glass. Part 67. G'day PV Henry. Protection glass makes it look perfect for just 5 minutes or one, yeah. There are no high-grade screens that I've found either, just the regular grades. The higher-grade ones are often a scam. Some even have dead pixels. Okay. What I was referring to earlier, say if the touch was... I definitely do notice that the cheap screens, they've definitely got issues with the touch a lot of the time. Like not being the right sort of level. In terms of dead pixels or anything, I don't think I've ever encountered one regardless of what grade I get, but I do find that the cheapest ones tend to have a less saturated look. If you really want a nightmare, get one of the self-healing vinyl screen protectors. Absolute rubbish. Oh, man. Oh, I'm just going to have to... It could be a defect in the screen itself, or it could be a defect in the touch, what do you call it, tempered glass. I genuinely am unsure. Anyway. Alright, that'll have to do. I can't really resolve that any better. I don't have any more of these left. At best, what I'll do is I'll say to the customer, look, it's not sitting properly. I'll get another one in and I'll give it to you for no cost. I mean, they cost me like $2 or something. And at least then they can put it on and it can be their issue. So as a rule, I think I'm just going to have to be more brutal and say, no tempered screen for you. Yeah, have to be. Okay, this one's good. Okay, so we've done the jobs that I need to get done. There was another one where I needed to swap the battery out of an iPhone 6s. What happened is the customer purchased this off eBay or somewhere, apparently is new, which we know is a load of bollocks. It's a rebirth phone and it's got issues with the TriStar. We tried a new battery in there, it kept playing up, so I was like, okay, TriStar. Now I've used up a battery of mine already in there, and the one I've put in there is stuck quite well because I put it in. And at this point I don't want to have to take that battery back out just to put in their old one, which I'll be honest, I can't find anywhere because that was like 3 weeks ago, and I don't really like to keep old batteries lying around too much. So I'm just going to give it back to the person and say, look, just send it back to them like this. The phone is a rebirth phone. It's not a genuine Apple phone per se, as in not an Apple refurbish. So they're not really going to pick you on, hey, this isn't our original battery. I'd be surprised they even knew what their original battery was. It's probably just something that they pulled off the scrap heap. The only thing that might give it away is the fact that it's actually bonded in properly, and they will probably go, "Hey, this is too good for us." No, okay, I'm being a bit presumptuous there. Needless to say, it was a deceptive practices type purchase or sale, and henceforth the person should be able to get a refund. Hopefully, I'm going to lose the 19 odd dollars or whatever it was for that battery, and I suspect I'm going to have to refund them a little bit as well on top because from their perception the job wasn't a success. It's one of those awkward type ones. I'll just see how it plays out. Hey Cecil, you could try hitting that with a heat gun. That sometimes helps the adhesion. Yeah, I could try that. I'm actually not sure I want to try that though. I'm just going to leave that. It's really like there's a defect in the glass, the actual screen, or something like that, causing it to sit up slightly. I think what's happening is if you look at it from bottom to top, you'll find that it's probably curving away a little sooner than the normal iPhone 6 does curve away. In which case, I'm not really going to bother. It's just the way it's going to be. Any other repairs for today? I've got a HP that needs a new front touchscreen, and I'm really actually not wanting to do that. And if any of you have watched my previous streams, have seen that Acer E5 571, I think it was, the touchscreen one. I still have not found a suitable replacement assembly for that. I've had two sent to me. Both of them cause the laptop to just shut down straight away. It will not boot up. The old one still boots up. It's become my nightmare job for the moment. So I'm going to have to order, perhaps from the UK or something, an actual full top screen assembly for some ridiculous amount of money, and I'm going to have to write that job off. That's a loss. Evelyn A, though, end of the random failure. Customer complaint was definitely out of the ordinary. Okay. Random failure. What sort of random failure? Alright, how long has this been going for now? Alright, an hour 12. I'm pretty much done for the morning. I'll now go do some administration work, chase up the various courier issues and whatnot. You want to see the HP? Alright, okay, alright, I'll go get the HP. Just hang on there. Might have to move the camera for this now. So be prepared for a bit of seasickness as we move this camera. Crutch cam, just what you all don't want. Yeah, let's drop the legs on this. And I have to change the focus too, it seems. Focus, focus, focus. I have it on manual focus, I'm sorry. That's good. HPs, yeah, that sweet mother of God, are you okay? Crikey. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that. Sorry about that. Oh my goodness. Alright, anyway, the problem with this one is, you see the rear hinge has been busted up. Someone's put their knee into the back here. It's a right real mess. Fortunately the hard drive is okay. Yeah, let's have a look at this. There you go, you can... It's a hell of a crack in that touchscreen. The LCD is okay, but this one has, I think it's a two flex touch system, and you've got to separate it from the LCD behind it. And I don't know, I tried actually pricing it up just a little more to try and get them to accept it as a write-off, but they still want to go ahead with it. So I hope I'm not walking into another valley of death. Now we know how Paul took out half the mic on the 922. Yep, that's how it happened before. Suicide camera. Yep. Yeah, well, anyway. Like I said, I'm really not looking forward to this one. I will. I mean, the touch screen itself costs more than the LCD panel, and I don't even know how I'm gonna go about fixing that hinge. It hopefully is just a JB World job. Anyway, so here we go. Anyway, alright, I'm wrapping up. I need to go about my other businesses for the day. I mean, other parts of, working on the electronics and the computers and the phones. And I'm not sure when I'll be back on. It's a bit difficult. I'm sort of just killing time until that microscope gets here. Anyway, if anything interesting comes up, I'll let you know. Alright, I'm out of here. Thank you all for coming in this morning. I appreciate it. And I'll catch up with you later. Until then, take care.